Hello, I'm Sarah, and my topic is climate change. And I've gotten the text called In Flight Entertainment, written by Helen Simpson in 2010. The short story, is one of the short stories from the collection In Flight Entertainment, as it is called. So, the text is about this man called Alan, who's just been upgraded to a first class flight, and he's going from the UK to Baltimore, where he's going to have make a presentation for his work. And we're introduced to Alan and Jeremy on board. They sit opposite to each other, and there's also an old man on board having seriously health troubles. He's just next to them, and there's this discussion going on between Alan and Jeremy about climate change and global warming and what they think about it. So, in the meanwhile, while they talk about climate change, this man is having serious issues. So the captain says that they have to make an emergency landing in Goose Bay to provide all the medical needs that this man should have, but he dies before they get there, and they still have to land there. So the plane gets very delayed, and it was also delayed from UK. So yeah, mostly the text is about. I think what's important about the text is what Jeremy thinks will happen in the future with the climate if nothing is done to prevent it. So in the end, Alan is a whole different person. So yeah, now I want to make a little person characteristics about Alan and Jeremy. So Alan is this elite businessman, and he just got upgraded to first class, as I said, and he is very careless about the climate. He doesn't think about it. He just doesn't want to listen to anyone who says that they have to stop global warming because he doesn't believe in it. And he is a selfish man who complains when something goes wrong on his schedule. Like, for example, when the man next to them is having very difficult, he's in trouble and they have to make this emergency landing, then it's like he doesn't even think that it's necessary to land because, whatever, even though it's really serious. And also when he actually died, there's this man behind Alan who's just like, do you think we still have to make this stop because he's already dead now? And then they're like, I don't know. And so they actually don't care. Alan is also a man who doesn't want to listen to other people's opinions because he thinks that he's always right, but this changes a bit towards the ending. And Jeremy is a man who believes in global warming. He's a bit older than Alan, so he might have a greater experience. He feels like he knows what will happen. He is very sure of himself, and he believes in what scientists say, that the global warming is happening and it is a serious problem. Something needs to be done, but he also says that it's just the future generations' problems. He has already tried himself to convince people about climate change is happening and it is very serious, but no one wanted to listen. So now he's just feeling that, well, he's old. He don't need to be the one to spare. So he drives. He goes on airplanes, and really doesn't do anything good to the climate because he thinks that, well, that's the future generation's problems. He also said something about joining the Second Mile High Club, which is supposed to be dying on an airplane. That probably just means that he will continue flying. So this discussion that Jeremy and Alan has is coming into a bit of a description of how the world can be. So Jeremy thinks that crops will be the first thing to fail. So all these food shortages will kill the most of our population, or maybe not the most, but very many people. And there will also be fightings because there's not enough food, so you'll end up sitting there with your last can of tuna, as he said, with no place to go because it's going to be everywhere. No one can really have a safe place. And after this is said, I think that some change happens in Alan. He becomes more sure. He becomes, yeah, he it's like he believes in what Jeremy says could actually be right. So he turns pretty defensive to his own opinions, because where before he was very aggressive, he's more defensive now. And I think that Alan represents people who don't think about the climate because they want to avoid it, because inside they're actually scared for what's going to happen. And Jeremy represents people who knows that the problem is serious but can't do anything about it. And we also get a short introduction to Ellen's own family, who are actually trying really much to make a difference, but because it's only so few people, they can't take the bigger steps. Yeah, so that's also one of the main themes about this text, that we have to change the bigger things, such as flying, because if every flight was stopped now, then we would really help our climate, because of all the CO2 emission that's happening when you fly. And yeah, so the genre is cli-fi, and it happens in the near future, which is very typical for climate fiction. And I can see that it's not right now, but in the near future, because there's a little saying about there's no skiing places in Europe. Like, it's already so hot up there that it's just not good enough. But right now, in our time, there's loads of skiing places. So yeah, it must be in the near future, because it also seemed very realistic apart from that. And yeah, it describes how ruined our world can be, can end up with a horror. So that now we have to stop global warming from happening, or we will just get in this mess that Jeremy explained. And yeah, I think it gives food for thought, as it did to Alan, because he really changed. He sat there in the ending with he couldn't sleep. He took a cup of coffee and was like, "Oh my God, I think that the world will end up in gloom and doom." And yeah, he actually ends up having a weird feeling that he hasn't had before, where he's like weight around his heart. And yeah, so he's a changed person who believes in global warming after this episode, I think. And global warming today, I feel like we can't see into the future and what consequences it will have, but text like this one seems very realistic to me. And we've spoken about in the class if it is a social or political issue, and we agreed that it was both, because like Alan's family, they can't just be the only one doing anything. The politicians has to come in and help, and then everyone has to back it up and yeah, take action. So we have to take action right now to help the planet, for our future generations. There are scientific proofs that temperatures are rising, but not all scientists and experts agree how yeah, how serious it is. So it's very hard to know what you have to believe in, and that's why this is an endless discussion going on. And yes, that was what I have to say about the text. So bye bye.